Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Mike here. Like you're somebody that's been super innovative in a lot of different ways. You pioneered your own style in music. It's a style that's very real with people. It's impactful. You express how you're feeling. You put your emotions out there, but you also convey positive meaning, and you convey a lot of messages in what you do. I think that's something that's you also your journey yourself personally has been reflected in your music, and a lot of people can relate to the journey that you've. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Ben.
Awesome. So how did your passion for for making music and just being an artist begin? Like how did this passion start? What kind of inspired you when you were young? How did it begin?
I regret to inform you that I didn't find passion for music. Passion for music found me. And from a very early age, even since before I can remember, my mother told me that, she would bring me in the backyard and in Detroit, and there'd be birds chirping. Like, we got some birds chirping here today, and I would attempt to sing the melodies that the birds were singing back to them. So this was something I was just born with, and I've done my best to cultivate it and share it. When you have a gift, and all of us have gifts, you have a responsibility to that gift to share it, but also to take care of it and develop it. And so I've just tried to do that, and that's kind of how it started. I can't take any credit for the genesis.
Mhm. So you realized you had this gift and you wanted to go and do something with this gift. So how did you start getting into making your own music?
That's an interesting question. I was born in '88, so I was raised in the early '90s. I was raised in a city called Southfield, which is uh, just north of Detroit, borders Detroit. It's a mostly black city. Um, and I just got really into hip hop music. Me and my friends listened to it. I had a few older cousins that were MCs that rapped. And I remember my friend Ronnie, God bless him, he's since passed on. But Ronnie, he always had a scheme to get into, and he was one of my best friends. And so we were in his basement or something, and that night his scheme was hip hop. We're going to try freestyling. So remember me, Ronnie, and our other friend Aaron Webster, we amalgamated a bunch of CDs that had music with no words. Like, we found certain tracks on albums that were instrumental, and we would just start trying to rap over them. And as I spit and stumbled and allowed stream of consciousness raps to fall out of my mind and mouth, something just clicked for me, and I knew I would never stop doing this. And I haven't since. It's taken different forms. Now it's freestyling, instead of making beats or writing songs. Now I play the guitar and piano and all this stuff. It's expanded in unimaginable ways. When I go back to that, you know, like 8-year-old's mind. But I just haven't. I knew I wouldn't stop. I knew that would be a part of my life. I didn't know it would be my job, but I knew I would be doing it the rest of my life.
How did you start to develop your own style, Mike? Like how did you go from, just trying this to I'm gonna put these kind of words here and this is how I'm gonna maybe be a part of the rhythm. Like how did you create your own style?
You got to stumble upon it. And for me, it took 12 years, Ben. I started writing, and making music when I was 8. It was in me before, as I mentioned earlier, but I really started writing songs when I was 8. And I didn't find my own voice really until I was about 20. So it took me 12 years. And you get inspired by different artists and different things in the world, and things from your medium. So I was inspired obviously by musicians. I studied music. I still do. I just love music. So I'm listening to everything from the Beatles to Paul Simon to Stevie Wonder to all my favorite rappers like Outkast and Nas and Talib Kweli and Mos Def and all. But I'm also reading Virginia Woolf, and I'm reading Dave Eggers, and I'm watching films like Donnie Darko, and it all gets mixed up. And at first, you sound like the people you're inspired by. But as you continue on the path, all your inspirations get blended up in a very beautiful way, and out comes you, and a voice that is undoubtedly part of a lineage, but is unmistakably your own. So it has to be stone. I wish there was a shortcut. I often tried to shortcut it. I remember in college thinking, oh man, Ben, Jack Johnson was popular at the time. And I also loved Jay Dilla. It was like, they're very different artists, right? And I said, I want to combine those two. Like
Huh.
make a, Jack Johnson was kind of lo-fi hip hop beats, unquantized, and have rapping and singing over it. So I made a formula. I go, I'm gonna do that. And then when I tried to do it, it didn't quite come out the way I imagined it, but it led me to the thing that was mine. And so I wish there was a shortcut. You got to stumble upon it. And, maybe you stumble upon it. Maybe it doesn't take you 12 years. Maybe it takes you 12 minutes. God bless you. But for me to find my voice, that was my journey.
Hmm. So it's just that experimentation and trying to find your own path through taking what inspired you.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of it is the heart's journey. You know, you're making decisions in your music. What's the right lyric? What's the right word for the end of this line? What's the right snare drum to put here? It's all based on the heart and the intuition. Every micro decision and every macro decision is all based off feeling. This is art,
Mm-hmm.
okay? This isn't business development. I'm a businessman as well, but we're talking about art. So art is God or inspiration or your higher self or the universe or life. We could just call it life with a capital L, putting something into your mind and body and you channeling that out. And the way you do that is you use your intuition to craft the process and the direction. It's never from analysis, it's never from some market research. It's the heart. And that's the difference between art and sometimes business, is
Mm-hmm.
art sometimes requires great courage to do something that you might be sure is going to actually really hurt like be a bad business move, and a true artist will just follow this, will follow that heart, that little whisper that says go this way, even if managers and agents and your own mind is saying that really doesn't make any sense. That's the artist journey.
So you've been pretty creative in terms of like new releases. Like early on, you had this iTunes U release that you did, which was more like it was educational focused, and you were kind of like you got a lot of a lot of traction from that because it was just a different way to release. And then also like there was a Reebok like commercial or like shoot that was around one of your songs too. Is it a similar process to like making the music itself? It's just kind of what you feel like, or how do you ideate these ideas?
Being creative, gosh, it, it was hard to get a career started in the music industry in 2009, 2010, because music has become democratized. So somebody like me who didn't have a record deal, didn't have a lot of money, could plug a computer into a sound card, into a laptop and a microphone, and make music that sounded really good. And that's a beautiful thing, but it means there's a lot more artists out there. Um, it's not like the 60s. So I had to get creative, and you're always trying to, after you make the art, you want to share it. And now I think the number's something crazy, like 200,000 songs a day are coming out. I mean, it's wild. So now it's just exponentially more. Um, and so after you do something you're really proud of, and often it's not just you, right? And the way I make music now is it's so collaborative, and there's other people involved, from the engineers to the musicians to writer, what have you. So you want to do your best to let people know it exists, and hopefully it gets to the people, all the people that it's meant to touch. Because at the end of the day, this is about human connection. If we're talking about art, we can go a lot of ways in this podcast, but art is somebody saying, hey, this is what it's like for me to be human. I don't always know how to articulate it, but when I have this quiet moment and I sit down with my craft, this is what it's like for me to be me. Is this what it's like for anyone else to be them? That's the creation. It's a question. And you present it to the world. And the beautiful thing is you create it in a present moment. But the art, the music, the book, whatever you're working on transcends both space and time. So my listener is going to then hear that in their present moment, in their right here, right now. So in that way, it transcends time and also space. In that they're not in the studio with me. They hear it in their home. So now they're receiving. I did the creation part. Now they're receiving, and I might not be there. Sometimes I get the stories or whatever after, but they're gonna go. Some percentage of the people receiving are gonna say, that's exactly what it's like for me to be human too. And I thought I was alone because no one else gets it, and I didn't know how to articulate it, and maybe no one in my town, but this is what it's like for me to be human too. And there's a connection there that transcends space, time, and it's human to human, heart to heart. And that's why art is important.
So when you were creating, Mike, I took a pill in Ibiza, right? And you were creating this song. I mean, you were writing about a different type of experience and state of mind than you're in, currently today. I mean, you're in a different place now. Um, how did how did you kind of take your emotions at that time and put them into what you were creating, and how did the remix kind of come about? Like, was that an existing relationship that you had? Did they just reach out to you? Like, how did that remix happen?
Sure. So the first part of your question is how do I put the emotions out? You just tell the truth. Before you can have spiritual growth, you got to tell the truth, right? Where am I on the map? Where am I in life? I walked around a lot with a smile on my face and it's all good, and there was a part of me where that was true, but there was another part of me that was deeply sad that my career really hadn't turned out the way I wanted. And I was angry and I was upset and I was scared. And I was just telling the truth. So I was with Jake Owen in the studio, and Jake played me a song on the guitar. He passed me the guitar. I played him a song, and he said, "What's that song about?" I said, "Not Ibiza. This is some other song." I said, "It's about a girl I had a thing with, and something I just made up." And he looked at me and he said, "Why don't you just tell the truth?" So that night I got on a plane, and I wrote I Took a Pill in Ibiza. A little bit felt like it wrote me. Some some of them just flow out. It kind of just flowed out. And so that's the answer to the first part of your question. And the second part of your question was about the remix and how that came to be. I really didn't have much to do with it. Um, I was living in my van at the time, trying to figure my life out. I had a big beard, and my record label asked me to if they could get a remix done of the song, and I said sure. Um, and they came back with they reached out to Seeb, a wonderful duo from Norway who did an incredible job remixing the song, really made a new piece of art out of it. And the record label emailed it to me, said, "Hey, we have your approval, put this out." I said, "Yeah." And I never expected it would become as popular as it did, but it did.
How did that change your life? Like, what was your life like, kind of right after that, and how did you start to handle it?
How did it change my life? So there's a distinction here Eckhart Tolle makes in The Power Now. I love this distinction because there's your life situation, and that's whatever is going on in your life. It's some combination of fame or disrepute, gain, loss. health, sickness, pain, pleasure, right? You, I, and everyone listening is in some combination of those things right now. That's your life situation. That's what's going on in your life. And then there's your actual life, which is like this moment, right here, right now. So, if you or your listener, we close our eyes, and it's a good reminder for me too. Take a deep breath. On the next inhale, open your eyes slowly. This is your life, your capital L life. This is it. It's like right here. It's not like you're doing all that. Boom. This is it. Right? So it didn't change my capital L life at all. My life situation, it made my life situation busier. It gave me more money. It gave me more attention. Um, it gave me more opportunities. Um, I would say changed my life situation in that way. In some
So
ways, made
there
me
was a
more
lot.
tired. I was busier.
So, Mike, there was a lot of spotlight on you, at that time. I mean, there was a lot of people looking at what you were doing. Um, yeah, how did you kind of stay focused on what you were trying to build next? Because you're a pretty deep person. You like to put meaning in what you create. How did you kind of channel some of this of what you were thinking at that time and stay focused on building?
I try to just follow my heart, my intuition, like we talked about earlier. You know,
Mhm.
I could have made millions and more dollars if I played nightclubs on that Ibiza run. If I would have done Vegas shows. But I had stopped drinking. The song was really about the perils of searching for some sense of belonging in those kinds of situations, and it didn't spiritually feel right to me. Furthermore, every album cycle, and it becomes more challenging when there's something that's very successful, because at a certain point my heart knows it's time to stop promoting the thing that's really successful and start writing the next thing, because I've grown. I'm entering a new chapter and I can feel it. And so I would make a demarcation and go, hey, I'm not going to do, like, this tour's over. We finished this tour. We're not going to do another. We could make another X amount of dollars if I do more shows, because the Bees is still popular. But I know I got to start writing the next thing. And so you have to, for me, make some bold decisions to say, hey, I'm going to reject this check that I can get because my heart's saying to go this way. And so it's just
Mm.
being honest with myself, and being an artist takes courage, man. You have to be able to articulate it and then stand for it. I don't if you want to be an artist, you have to be able to advocate for yourself and your art and to the people you work with. Because the people you work with, their job is to help share it with the world, make it, blow it up, make money, right? And I don't believe in this, like, poor me artist story of the manager took advantage of my life. The record label said I had to do this, and now I'm stressed out. No, you don't have to do shit. You're the boss. They work for you. And so if you're not comfortable articulating, hey, I'm not doing that. That doesn't feel right. I appreciate you and the opportunity, but this is where we're going to go next. If you can't do that for yourself, being an artist probably isn't the job for you. Because you get eaten up alive.
Did you like learn that skill just as you were growing, just how to
Yeah,
stand
it's a
up for
human
yourself?
skill. It's a skill of how to say no, you know. In this case, the reason for the no is rooted in something deeper, which is a feeling of what is right for you and your artistry. But it's a skill of saying no. You know, you will never reach your mission if you don't know how to say no, because you'll get pulled off into we talked about the map, right? Okay, you find where you are, then as you said, you take a step, right? And you're moving in the direction. But if you don't know how to say no, you're going to end up way off course doing what other people want you to do. So the elegant no is a wonderful task. And, you know, one of the beauties of, I won't say beauties, but like shortcuts with social media or texting now and email, like so much of communication isn't even it with the voice. So I'll give you a little hack is like I have some scripts on my phone under the no elegant no's. So it's a response that I've created with compassion and love, and you know I need to change the situation, update it, but it's a framework of a really beautiful no, where the person actually will thank me for the no after I give it. So the no is very important.
Yeah, you definitely got to know how to spend your time and the decisions that you want. I mean, it'll make you unhappy if you don't know how to stop. Um, so there was a point, Mike, that you decided you were going to travel, I think almost 3,000 miles and go, across the U.S. And it was a big, I mean, that's a big decision to go and do something like that. I mean, it was a good, chunk of your year. Looking back on it now, like how impactful was that to how you view the world today and your kind of development? Like, was that something that's really just affected your perspective?
Absolutely. Okay, and this is like the big lesson because you're right. In 2019, I made a very insane decision, a crazy decision. And not all crazy ideas are great, but all great ideas are crazy, right? So that decision was, yeah, I just got nominated for a Grammy. Um, I'm the successful recording artist and songwriter, but I'm going to walk on foot across the United States of America. And I don't care how long it takes me. It's a year, 2 years, like I I don't know. And a friend of mine said, dude, you're gonna give up a year of your life to do this? And I said, no, I'm taking a year back. Okay. So for that year, you're right. I walked 2,851 miles. And people listening to this, they're like, huh? Well, I thought you were an artist. Like, how did we get to this point? And, we don't have enough time to cover the whole genesis of why I made this decision. But it was basically, I had a feeling of there's more inside me. Even though I'm very successful, there's more inside me. And I got to go figure out what that is. I got to go figure out what that is. And just like I listen to the heart on what song to put out and what melody to put in that song and how much reverb to put on the mix, my heart was telling me you got to go do this crazy adventure. It's not gonna make sense to anybody else. No one's gonna cheer for you. No one's gonna tell you this is a good decision. They're gonna tell you it's a horrible decision, and they did. But I knew I had to do it. It was between me and God. So your question is, how did my perspective change? It blew my whole life open, Ben. Now, on interviews like this, people ask, I like your question, but they'll ask, what were your takeaways? Yeah, I could tell you my 5 takeaways from the walk, or, I've done a TED talk. But the difference between watching a TED talk or listening to a podcast about someone's spiritual and personal journey and actually going on that journey yourself
Mhm.
is like the difference between an anthill and Mount Everest. It's the difference
Wow.
between a lightning bug and lightning. Okay, so it blew my life open in the respect that I had no idea how strong I was. I had no idea how much more was inside. I thought I was playing at full tilt or close to it. Turns out I wasn't even, right? Like my being spiritually, what I'm able to do physically, how strong I am, how tough I am. I had no idea. And I didn't even, by the end of that walk, I didn't even recognize myself. I'm like, the guy I used to be, like, is incredible. So my message is, you don't need to walk across America, but I'm willing to bet you and everyone listening, you have a list of things that you want to do in your life. And then you have another list of things that you feel like you have to do before you get around to the good stuff. And I'm here to tell you that that list, the second one, things you think you got to do before you get to the things you really are called to do, it's mostly your fear wearing a disguise saying, we'll do that, we'll get it. Because the stuff on the first list is going to change you. Why is it scary, right? One is you've put it on your list because it calls to you because some part of who you are now is going to die while you go get it. And then there's another part of you that doesn't know if it's going to work out. Like, what if you fail? And you might. And we don't want to feel that. We want to feel certain and comfortable. But certainty and comfort ultimately lead to depression. So that's it. That's my message. It's whatever's on that second list, don't wait. Because you're gonna die at some point anyways. And before you die, these things on that list that are calling your heart, they're either gonna happen in your life or they're gonna die dreams. And dreams are not meant to stay dreams. A dream either grows into a plan or it withers into regret and resentment. So don't wait. Don't wait.
Yeah, I mean it's great that you learn your own strength. I mean, you learn how much you could really how far you could really go. I mean, that's probably helps in terms of just in general how you conduct yourself and yeah, I mean that's definitely great that I think you learned a lot from that. Just the last question I have, Mike, and you can just answer it, quickly. I know you only have so much time. Um, but what at this point in your life, in your career, I mean, just in general, like what do you want to accomplish? Like what do you want to aspire? What do you aspire to do now? Like what are some things you haven't done that you want to do, that you want to build or create?
Absolutely. So our mission at Mike Posner Inc. with all our projects, it comes from my father. My dad, bless his soul. He was my biggest cheerleader. I mean, he's just an incredible man. And he transitioned out of his body about 7 years ago now. But before he made that transition, he used to always tell me, Mike, there's two H's in life. There's two H's in life, health and happiness. And so our mission with all our projects is simply to make people healthier and happier. And that's why I'm on earth, is to help people. And I could do that through my art, I could do that through my words, I could do that through podcasts today. If I can be of service to others and have a lot of fun along the way, then that's a good life to me. That's a good life to me. And so I expect my life to be fun, magical, fulfilling, to light other people up, abundant, um, and it is. It is.
That's a great way to look at it. And I mean, that's, what else could you ask for in life really besides health and happiness? So, Mike, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think there's a lot people can learn from you and the steps that you've taken. Definitely, a really unique journey, especially because you've kind of went, different directions, but it's all kind of come back and helped shape you into who you are today. So thanks for doing that. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Ben. God bless you and everyone listening. If you're hearing this, this is just the beginning. You know, if you're going through hell, keep going. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.